Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of the syndicated talk show, People of Distinction. A talk that gives you an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, alcoleenterprises.com for more info. Email me through benji@alcoleenterprises.com if you'd like to get involved with what we have going. And as always, please continue to like and follow our broadcasts. People of Distinction is internationally syndicated solely due to the love and support that you all continue to give. We're available across all major distributors, and as long as you keep following, we're going to continue to put out the content. Now sit back and strap in, because on the line with us today, we have the impressive Margot Stornelli. We're going to be discussing her incredible memoir, The Big Red Suitcase. It's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble. Type it into a search bar, and you're going to see all of them. And you're going to want to do that because there is a website currently in construction, not available just yet. But once it goes live, it's going to be a one-stop shop for everything. Now, before I go any further, I want to point out the fact that she was brought to us by author Reputation Press. So for the writers out there listening in, if you need assistance moving the book you just worked so tirelessly creating, head on over to authorreputationpress.com and gather all the ways that their fantastic team is more than equipped to help you do just that. And people, it is a pleasure to have Margot here on the line. This is a memoir, so we're going to follow her down memory lane and learn from her journey. But what's beautiful about this is the way I look at it, like, the Big Red Suitcase is symbolic, right? Because we all have our own version of it. The one that was holding our dreams we were too young to name. The one holding the courage that we didn't even know we had. Once we go into this and we really start to talk about it, it's a pretty beautiful representation. Margot had her own red suitcase, and she opened hers, and she found a life across 3 countries, a student exchange program that helped rewire her in a weekend in Canada that changed absolutely everything. You're going to learn so much, and hopefully, once you hear about her journey, it'll maybe inspire you to embark upon your own. Sit back, strap in, and let's get it going. Margot, welcome to the network, and thank you for being here. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Margot, it's my pleasure. We're looking forward to this. I think your book, it's a fun journey, learning about your life. As I mentioned to you on the pre-screening call, there's a wide audience base here that can look at this and have a completely different perception on what their value that they took from it was. And I think that's the beautiful thing about art, right? So we're looking forward to this discussion. Thank you for being here. This is a memoir, so we're going to learn about you while we learn about the book. Let's jump right in. The Big Red Suitcase. Tell us more about it.
I was inspired to leave a legacy for my grandchildren a couple of years ago when my daughter had her first baby, and I am the main babysitter. As soon as they bought a home outside of Toronto, I moved as well, just so I could be close by. I started looking through all my diaries, files of letters and photos, and started trying to piece everything together. And then I joined a writing program online. I went through 3 different writing programs with 3 different coaches in both the U.S. and Canada. I fell in love with writing and going through my memories and trying to put all the pieces of the puzzle together.
Okay, let's go to the next logical step here. Margot, let's go about inspiration here. Well, actually, before I go there, I just want to quickly point to something I almost forgot. You mentioned how you're the babysitter now for your grandchildren. Can I just tell you, as a new father myself, that village that we keep around us, Margot, it is so important. So yeah, you are that babysitter, and I'm sure your grandchildren are ecstatic to have you, okay?
Well, the youngest is going through his terrible twos right now, so that's been a very interesting experience.
I know them all too well, Margot. We're approaching the terrible twos with our son, and we're well invested into the 3-nager years with our daughter. So we're just, Margot, we are chipping away, girl. We are chipping away. So you wanted to leave a legacy for your grandchildren. Talk to us a little bit more about the inspiration to then transition to actually publishing the book for the world now to be able to pick up and explore. What was that inspiration for you? Because you could have written a personal book and handed it directly to your grandchildren. By putting it out into the world, did you recognize the benefit that your book had that it could offer readers?
As I was writing, I realized that some of the themes in the book would resonate with others. especially the travel aspect, going on an exchange program, moving to another country, immigrating to another country, traveling alone and living with other people on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
Is quite different from visiting as a tourist. I've had a lifelong relationship with my host family in the Netherlands.
Wow.
50 years later, I still communicate with 3 women over there that are very close friends. We've seen each other. They've come to Canada. I've gone back to Europe twice since that year abroad. It's been a wonderful friendship that I've developed with these people. I've also adopted some of their customs.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried to incorporate into my life daily as well as annually with holidays. It was a strong impact on my life.
Yeah. Margot, you bring up an interesting point, and it's really where I want to go next. And I've had a similar experience, although be it not nearly as shocking as you, right? I remember right after undergrad, I moved to California for graduate school. It's not nearly as big of a jump as you're talking about going to the Netherlands, but a premise here applies. I remember within the first week of being in California and how different it appeared almost everything was. California from Rhode Island, It was just like a different world. I'm curious to know, when you were traveling that first time, what was an experience that you had that really hit you in the face and reminded you like, wow, I am not in America anymore?
I had been to Europe before with my family about 6 or 7 years before the exchange program. And the thing that I fell in love with in Europe was all the small villages and all of the old architecture and space in between the houses and everything. And also, I just love the fact that you didn't have to travel too far by train or by bus or by car to go from one place to the next. Just the smaller populations really intrigued me.
You know, it's interesting, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think one of the most beneficial aspects of moving at such a young age, and this is something that my kids are very far away from being at that point, but I will highly encourage, and anyone listening in, I always recommend, if you can travel, and of course do it in a protected way, you're able to see that the world is vast.
Right.
There's so much out there. And again, for me, coming from a place like Rhode Island, it's the smallest state in the country. You can get from one end to the next in an hour. It's very small. Everybody knows everyone. And it was what I was accustomed to, but moving a few thousand miles away to the west. And the environment on the East Coast, people have backyards. In Los Angeles, nah. Yeah, some areas you get backyards. But for the most part, you're not having that. And my mother now, she lives partly abroad. She lives in Portugal. And it's a very similar lifestyle to what you're talking about. That European lifestyle is vastly different from America. And what a great benefit it can be for anybody that does travel abroad that way. People, this is one particular aspect that we're focusing on, but the book is filled with so much more. Head on over to Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It's called The Big Red Suitcase by Margot Stornelli. Purchase your copies today because you're going to want to get lost in it tomorrow. My follow-up question, Margot, with memoirs, it's a walk down memory lane for you, right? You're revisiting past memories maybe you haven't thought about in years. Were there anything particularly either difficult for you to relive and write, or maybe something that you found very valuable that you haven't thought about in so many years?
The first chapter I wrote was actually the middle chapters of the book about my year in Europe. Through the writing programs I was attending, I realized I had to write a beginning, middle, and end, what led up to the year in Europe and what happened after.
Yeah.
There were times during that year in Europe when I had to change families. Twice I initiated it through the organization. Another time the organization contacted me and said, we have to move you. That can be very traumatizing. Your old kid who is 5,000 miles away from home on their own.
Right.
Going through all those transitions was very difficult for me, but the Youth for Understanding organization, they have counselors all over the place that guide you in what to expect, but they also find the host families, and they depend on families of children who they've sent overseas. And that's how I ended up with the family in the Netherlands, was their daughter was already in California that year.
Wow.
I didn't meet her until I went back to Europe 4 years later for a Christmas holiday, and we've been friends ever since. Just the changes, not only getting used to a different culture, but also changing families, getting used to that family's comings and goings and habits and expectations was very challenging for a 17-year-old kid on their own.
Listen, wisdom is derived through our experiences. So as we begin closing out here, what's a piece of advice that you'd give to some young person listening in right now who's holding their own big red suitcase for their first time, feeling a wave of terror yet excitement? What's a piece of advice you could offer them?
Do your research on the place where you want to go. That was the one thing I really did not do because I did not know where I was going until about 6 weeks before the program. Even though I applied for the program at the beginning of the school year in September, I did not know where I was going until the end of May.
Wow.
Unfortunately, the departure date was the day I was supposed to be graduating from high school, so I missed out on that. With the internet, it is so easy to research where you want to go, what life is like, the culture of the place, the history of the place, the customs. We really didn't have that back in the 70s. Because I did not know what country I was going to, I had picked 3 on my application. I didn't know if it was going to be either one of those 3 or somewhere else. I had to go to the library and look up encyclopedias one afternoon before I left to get an idea of where I was going. Research it, figure out where you want to go, try to learn the language. There's so many free language programs on the internet now.
Yeah.
I learned Dutch basically just by listening to people and watching television, basically the same way how my Italian mother-in-law learned English.
Margot, I'll tell you, that's impressive, okay? Because as someone that's married to a Mexican woman, I'm trying to learn Spanish, and oh my goodness, it's so difficult. I'm struggling through it right now, Margot. I'm struggling through it. No, listen, there's so much wisdom in what you said. And what's great about it is it's universal wisdom because you're honing it specifically to young individuals traveling abroad and things that they should prepare for. And fantastic advice. But really, you're just talking about doing your research. People, I don't care if you're traveling abroad or if you're traveling to the grocery store. You should probably do your research, right? Know what it is that you're going for, what it is that you're purchasing. And that's a great life lesson. And so many times, I'll be the first to admit it because I do it all the time. How often do we put things on autopilot and we just kind of go through the motions, right? Margot is dropping some wisdom here. And again, we've scratched the surface, but there's still so much more. Purchase your copies. Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Remember, that's where you got to go. The Big Red Suitcase is what you got to pick up. And what's beautiful about this, I started off by saying that this book is very symbolic in the way I view it. Another great message is that home isn't a dot on the map. Once you start to get your mind around the fact that you can travel to different locations and you can foster a community there, the world really opens up. And it's one of those things that you don't understand until you experience it and you do it yourself. You got to take that leap of faith because it's scary. But when you do it, you open up a realm of possibilities and experiences that you never would have imagined. You might even find love and move abroad as well. There's so much here that you could possibly embark upon, but it starts with this book. Learn those experiences, then develop some of your own. Margot, this has been a true pleasure. This has been a delight. Keep up the fantastic work. And once again, thank you for being a guest on People of Distinction.
Thank you for having me.